time when you watched a movie and there was a murder in it and then it made you want to go out and kill someone? Has that ever happened? Remember that one time when you played Pac-Man, then you instantly had an urge to go sit in a dark room, swallow pills, and act like you're being chased by ghosts? Do you just have no choice except to emulate what you see in the world? Yeah, me neither. Yet people somehow think that children, when they play violent video games, it makes them violent people. My name is Sharina Elder, and I'm going to tell you why video games that are M-rated or have violence do not make kids violent. I know because, you know, I've played these video games, I'm still here, I'm not in jail, but here we go. First of all, youth act out. That is what they do. But what is defined as violence can be considered questionable by parents. What some parents consider to be violence is more of just their children will watch stimulating TV shows. They'll play stimulating video games like Power Rangers or Cars or Star Wars, and they'll instantly start to lightsaber battle and fight and yell. This isn't violence. This shouldn't be classified as violence. When people say video games have made my children violent, they shouldn't be talking about, oh, little Jimmy is screaming and running around the house, because kids scream and run around the house regardless if it's because they watched a video game or if their brother's chasing them or if they happen to read an action book or something. So that should not be classified as violence. And then children imitate things. They imitate. That's how they learn. Whenever kids play, after they see these TV shows, they never really injure or try to kill their friends on purpose. They know the difference between reality and the fake world of video games. These things shouldn't be compared. I think our children are smarter than that. And what is actually youth violence is things that are considered crimes by adults, such as, you know, arson, murder, theft, vandalism. And from the Youth Lifestyle Survey, which is a UK corporation, they have listed risk factors that determine whether children act out or not. This is in order of how common they are. First, it would be hanging out in public, and second would be having delinquent friends, abusing drugs, poor parental supervision, and being disaffected from school, not caring about their grades, and being a truant. As you noticed, this organization did not put video games anywhere on the scale. It really has nothing to do with it. These are expert professionals, and they have decided that video games are not worth putting on the list. And one thing that I noticed when I was trying to research for this speech is that there aren't any real statistics on youth violence from video games. What I ended up finding was basically scientists will not morally give children video games and then track them throughout their life to see if will they commit a murder? You know, will they become a vandal or a theft? You know, no scientist is morally able to do that with those kinds of results in mind. So there are no direct statistics on video games and violence. It's more of what they do is they will allow children to play Grand Theft Auto or Halo or whatever for a certain amount of time, and then afterwards they will put them in a room with their peers and see if they act any rowdier or crazy or anything like that. And we just talked about this. Children screaming and carrying on louder than usual is not violence. It's just kind of annoying. And what the statistics did show was that they would also take children, and after playing the video games, they would say, give a fill in the blank for EXPLO blank E. And then the children would have to, the correct answer was explore, but if they put explode, it indicated violent tendencies. Like, what does this mean? That has nothing to do with violence. It's more of It's more of a case of, if you see something immediately, you're going to remember it versus something that was experienced a while ago. So if a kid sees something explode in a video game, they're going to write explode. This doesn't even mean anything. I don't understand. But these results are published, and parents are informed of this, and they're like, oh, well, video games must cause violence, when that's not the case. And also, video games are often singled out. They're singled out because they are the newest form of escapism technology. People forget that we've had violent books, we've had violent TV shows, we've had violent movies and violent magazines that kids read, and the kids are fine. There is no epidemic of crime, teachers are able to keep their kids under control, we don't have youth running loose, setting fires, everything's good. This has been happening for generations, and suddenly, because video games are new, they're targeted, but this doesn't make any sense. Violence has always existed. And another thing is the ESRB rating. That tells people, E for everyone, and T for teen, and M for mature. And there's actually a restriction placed on M for mature games. At most places, like the Walmart and such, you have to show an ID that proves that you're 17 years old. But see, the thing is that this is so easily bypassable. I mean, all you have to do is get someone who's older than 17 to buy the game, and once it's in the household, a child can play it. Or let's say this young person goes on Amazon or eBay, where there's no age restrictions, or if they go to a friend's house where the parents might not be watching. These video games are so accessible. It's really naive to think that children simply aren't being exposed, and that the few who are just somehow corrupted. This isn't the case. Actually, the ESRB, they did a study that shows now, within 2013, that within 4 out of 5 households have video games in them. So, if so many kids have video game systems in their house, 4 out of 5, and these video games, these M-rated video games are so accessible, then how come we don't have a crime epidemic? How come, like I said, the kids aren't running around setting fires and all the kids are into gangs, How would we even have school if all of the kids who play video games are all so violent? It makes absolutely no sense. There is almost zero correlation. And in reality, video games are actually beneficial for kids. Studies have shown that, I don't know if you've ever actually seen a child play video games, but there's a lot of rules, there are a lot of numbers, and there's a lot of really, really complex things you have to do to get the gameplay exactly right. And kids, really small kids, 5, 6, 7 years old, will memorize these complex gameplays in order to beat the fun game. So now this is being used for learning. There are video games that are designed, to help kids with math, to help kids with reading and science. And it's been shown to really improve kids' concentration and helps them learn faster. And also kids who do play video games have better spatial reasoning because in order to get the gameplay exact right, you have to be able to rationalize how far you have to move and so on and so forth. And kids are more social because they have to plan out what battle strategy they're going to use in Call of Duty and such. It's very hard to do by yourself. And also critical thinking. In order to get the heist going, you have to be very creative. The games don't always, give you exact hints. You have to really be able to do that on your own to beat the game. So now that I've said all of my points, I'm going to come full circle. Crime and video games have zero correlation. And there shouldn't be a restriction on what games kids can play. There shouldn't be some kind of strange social taboo. Parents should not be worried about this because, in all reality, video games help and video games are good. And I hope I convinced you of my point. Thank you.